So I finished watching Star Wars The Bad Batch, Season 3, Episode 15, The Cavalry Has Arrived. This is the season and series finale of Star Wars The Bad Batch, so the story has ended, but it ended spectacularly. If you want to avoid spoilers, I released my spoiler-free review earlier today. It'll be linked in the description and in the cards, so check that out, because there will be spoilers for the rest of this video. You have been warned. So to begin with, this episode was actually double length, 51 minutes, well, probably later that's because of the ending credits, but still. This was the final episode, and they made it a double length. So really, you could almost say episode 15 and 16. Back during the age of syndication, probably would have been split up into 2 episodes anyhow. But the thing is, it was great. The title, you know how the Star Wars on Disney Plus is always open with that Star Wars title that has the helmets and all that? They did a different music for that. And the ending music too for this episode was also different. Really, I think once you put maybe a sense of finality on, I don't know too much about music series, so I can't really convey too much. Did the choice of music actually convey that sense of finality? But I think they wanted to do it to convey that sense, if that makes sense. But yeah, let's go through everything. Should I just jump to the very end? I really want to, but we gotta hold off on the ending, because like Rebels, there is not a post-credit scene, but a flash forward so we can see what has happened to many of our characters. But let's actually refocus on what's going on. So, Omega, she's implementing her own escape plan. No, they get a droid reprogrammed that's guarding them, that takes out Doctor, I forget her name, but the mean Doctor, and then of course, eventually Emery and Echo get there after their conversation. Echo is trying to get more information, but apparently there's some actually heavy encryption. For once, the Empire is employing some cybersecurity. But anyhow, what ends up occurring is they get there, and the kids have already escaped. We knew that. We knew that before they did, but I had predicted that there was a good chance Omega was going to escape before any member of the Bad Batch got to her. And of course, you know what they do? They release the Zilla Beast. Of course, Omega was going to do that. I predicted that. It was so obviously set up. There was no other way about it. But this is what I didn't expect. So Omega had all the other kids left in the pneumatic tube corridors while she freezes the beast to keep them safe. But the baby, I forget their name, but is crying, starting to cry, getting agitated. Well, guess what happens? Starts making noises. The TK troop is going to investigate. But the thing is, during the Zilla Beast rampage, that apparently puts the baby to sleep. Of course it does. Why wouldn't it? And actually, Jax, I believe, was commented on that. Like, he's like, why this? Why now? But it's just crazy. But eventually, they make their way all the way up to a hangar bay, because they're basically following the escape path that the Zilla Beast took that's running rampage. It's now running rampage somewhere on the planet. I'm sad that the Zilla Beast didn't get to eat Dr. Hemlock. He did get to eat a TK trooper, but I really wanted him to eat Dr. Hemlock. Then again, Hemlock is a poisonous plant, so that would have been so unfair for the Zilla Beast to eat poison. I'm just saying. But eventually, they meet up with Dr. Carl, Emery, Emery, I don't know why I said it that way, but Echo and Emery, who've been trying to find them, of course. And Echo quickly figure out Omega released the Zilla Beast and that she's heading up that way, and they get there about the same time they do. And they then make their way to a shuttle. Now, Echo and Omega stay behind, while Emery and the kids go off to Pabu. And there's the reason why they stay behind. I haven't talked about what the rest of the Bad Batch were doing. Well, they were infiltrating the base. Echo's hurt, so here's me thinking, he's hurt. Crosshair's willing to go into the base by himself. They're both going to die. Now, that doesn't happen. Instead, they all go together, thanks to Hunter. He's the leader. But one thing I want to note, there's a scene where Crosshair laments that with Tech dead, and they actually mentioned Plan 99, but with Tech dead that they can't function anymore. But what's that telling me? That's what he's thinking. It's not necessarily the case, because they function fine without him, which he probably knows. And he sees that they're not functioning without Tech and with him. So he thinks, I think he's saying that they are not functioning without Tech, but I think what he's really saying is, you have me and not Tech, and therefore we're not working well together. I think that's what he's thinking. His hands shaking a lot more. It's all all his mental health issues that stem from his torture on Tantiss are coming to fruition, and he's blaming himself for a lot of stuff. But Hunter pulls them together, and they go in together, and they face a bunch of TK troopers and all those Clone X operatives, all of them. We never find out their identities, and you know what? That's not important anymore. We always thought it was important. I thought it was just a cool little fun thing. I never really cared too much. I just thought, oh, it would be neat. Now, I have to know who this is. But they face them all, and they got a bunch of different weapons. Like, not just blasters, sniper rifles, but vibro blades, knives, all the whole 9 yards. And the Bad Batch are captured. And Echo and Emmy actually see them on the way to get to where Omega and the kids are. So Echo tells Omega that, and they hatch a plan to, free all the clones and rescue the rest of the batch. And they free the clones. That includes Nala Se and Rampart. And Nala Se goes on a mission to destroy her lab and get rid of all the data because she knows the Empire can't have it. And Rampart, he follows her, and I mean follows. He's not helping her because he knows what's going to happen. He picks that up, and he wants to try to, gain favor with the Emperor again. Well, what happens? Nala Se picks up a thermal detonator off of a clone commander that another clone had had eliminated, and then Rampart picks up a blaster from an Imperial technician, not tech. I should be clear on that. But anyhow, Nala Se enters her labs and starts doing some stuff with the data, and then Rampart comes in and points the blaster at her and asks her to tell her about Project Necromancer. She does, but one thing that we notice as the audience, because the camera focuses, she turns that thermal detonator on, probably because she has decided that no matter what, the lab is and the data core is being destroyed. And so, after a break, after some other things happen, which we'll get to later, Rampart gets the information. He knows where Project Necromancer is, and he's going to use that to gain favor with the Emperor. Then he shoots Nala Se. But Nala Se, because I was having the thermal detonator on, it was already primed. Now, she hadn't released the safety yet, obviously, until she was shot. And then, boom. And that actually does help the clones and the Batch, the clones Echo and Omega rescue the Bad Batch. They get to the training room, which is where all the conditioning for the clone operatives are. And by the way, the injured clones were not sent on that mission. So that was good. They go and get the shuttle, and 2 healthy clones to help them out. So doing some tactical thinking there. But they go in there, and Omega goes the stealth way in, and so she starts freeing the batch. And then the clones come in from underneath for the distraction. And but with all those clone operatives there, they're overwhelmed. But Omega is able to free Wrecker, but she's caught before she's able to finish freeing him. But she kind of delays Hemlock monologues, and Wrecker frees himself. But what does Hemlock do? He handcuffs Omega to him, and he takes off running with Scorch for someplace. Or eventually, Wrecker gets Crosser and Hunter up, and they defeat the clone up there, and then Wrecker eventually falls down, but him and Echo take on the remaining clone operatives while Hunter and Crosser go and rescue Omega. And they do, but I gotta talk about that scene in just a second. I want to finish talking about things going on in the training room. So, Echo, Wrecker, and one of the clones who came in with them, the only one who survived, do eventually defeat all the operatives. And we did not know this one clone survived, which was actually, I think, the first clone that volunteered to help Omega and Hunter rescue the rest of the Omega and Echo rescue the rest of the Bad Batch. He's the last one surviving. I'm pretty sure it's the same one, but still, he's the one who fires the last saving shot, which is very important. A reg does that. So I want to address one of my predictions was that the Cavalry arriving was going to be the regs. Not quite. Rex and his team never came, but in some ways, would Echo and Omega have been able to save the rest of the batch without the help of the regs imprisoned on Tantiss? No, they were in effect the cavalry. Everyone was a cavalry, you could say, in this episode, which I think is just fitting. And then, so they make their way to the shuttle, and then, of course, and so Omega is taking Hemlock to a shuttle with Scorch to escape, and then Hunter and Crosso come in. They take out Scorch like a pansy, quite literally. Scorch has not been the same, and I think that's the point. He's broken his own way, and he never has a chance to recover. What would the rest of Delta Squad say? But remember, their story is technically not canon, so we have no idea what they're like in canon. But I think the point is, with Scorch, was showing he's a name clone you all love from Legends. And even he can't escape the grip of the Empire. So it takes a bunch of defective clones to save all the clones. Unfortunately, Scorch, he just never got the opportunity to defect. But anyhow, Rampart, of course, now he no longer has a ship because Crosser and Hunter took it out, so he's threatening to shoot Omega. Of course, Omega knows that he's never going to do it because he needs her alive. Well, the thing is, she has a plan. She still has that tool that she used to get into the pneumatic tubes and all that she used to reprogram the droid. She's been making good use of the tool, and I think Emmy did unconsciously let her take it. But anyhow, she gets into a position, she uses it to stab Hemlock in the leg, and that gives Crosser the opportunity to take the shot that takes Hemlock out and eliminates him, which we knew was going to happen. And throughout this episode, we have been cut multiple times to Crosser's hand shaking all the time because it's a tremor. He's scared of it. But the thing is, he didn't take the shot with his dominant hand. He had lost his dominant hand to those clone optics, who almost took a thrill, a glee from cutting it off. He's still nervous, but he used his non-dominant hand to take the shot. He still had it in him all the time, but he was so focused, I think, on his shooting hand, he never considered his other hand, his other option. And I think that's poetic. So yes, he lost his hand. In fact, the only loss the Bad Batch suffers this entire episode. Sure, losing a hand is Star Wars tradition at this point, but I was kind of thinking something more was going to happen. Somebody was going to die. There were so many signs. But at the same time, I'm glad that they all got off Tantiss. And they did. All the kids, Emmy, all the clones that survived. So yes, there were clones who were lost. It's a tragedy. And clones who they couldn't save, like Scorch from the Empire. He stayed loyal to the end. But everyone they could save, they did. And the batch stayed whole. They only lost Tech. And that was a season ago. In some ways, if we had kept Tech, somebody would have died, I think, in this episode. But that didn't happen because we already lost Tech. The loss was felt. And maybe part of this episode was them all truly working together as a squad without Tech, who Crosser had described as what held them all together. Perhaps that is the truth. Perhaps that's just his internal struggles being vocalized. We don't know. But the point is, they did all work together and they all survived. So this is going to feel a little disjointed from the rest of my review, but I totally forgot to talk about Tarkin. So Tarkin hears about the Zero Beast getting loose. He contacts Hemlock, and Hemlock is like, I have everything under control. Well, he might, but he doesn't. He does not. He thinks he does. But anyhow, eventually Tarkin arrives right after the rest of the clones escape Tantiss. And he arrives with 2 Venters and an Imperial Star Destroyer, our first look. And I think it's fitting that 1, Tarkin has the first one that we see, and 2, that it's specifically coming as the clones are making their escape. The Clone Wars, the era of the Republic, is finally over. It's time for the reign of the Empire, and now we got the new Star Destroyers in play. And so they're scouring the base. They confirm that Tarkin, that Hemlock was killed, and among many others. And so what does Tarkin do? He's like, divert all funding to Project Stardust. Shut this all down. Of course he does. Of course he does. Tarkin, I think, was this entire time looking for an excuse to shut down Tantiss so he can get more funding for the Death Star. Because he'd rather rule by fear than by anything else. And him getting the first Imperial Star Destroyer is also a moniker of that. He gets that Star Destroyer. He gets a symbol of fear before anyone else. Except for probably the Emperor's personal Star Destroyer. I'm just guessing. Maybe Vader, maybe not. Depends on how much of a leash Palpatine has on Vader right now. But it's fitting that Tarkin shows up with an instrument of the Empire's field and chooses to divert the funding for Tantiss, Project Necromancer, and all the other projects Hemlock had to what Tarkin views as the ultimate expression of Imperial power and Imperial rule by fear, the Tarkin Doctrine, the Death Star. And so they all arrive on Pabu. The clones are fitting in, they're getting food. The kids are playing with the other clone cadets that were there. And then a few of the clones, along with Emery and Echo, go off to help Rex and Senator Chuchi with their planes. And so, yeah, so Emery is probably going to be working with Senator Chuchi for a little bit. So that's nice. And who knows everything that's going to come. Maybe she even develops a cure for accelerated aging. I made that my predictions. I don't think that's going to happen because that has never been addressed. But we never know. We never know. But the thing is that that scene ends with Omega and Hunter just sitting under a tree relaxing with Batcher. Quite simple. And Hunter has designed that whatever is up is going to be their choice. Their choice and all the clones' choice. They now have the ability to choose what they want for themselves. And that's a thing we've seen present in a lot of Clone Wars media. Clones making choices. Think of the Umbara arc of the Clone Wars. The clones made the choice to mutiny against a treasonous general. We see even Slick way back in, I think it might have been a season 2 episode, but with the with Slick betraying his brothers on Christophsis, he made a choice too. He in some ways was right. The clones were slaves to the Republic, and were actually slaves to the Empire. We see time and time again clones making choices that sometimes go against the orders but actually are good. But sometimes we see them don't. And that's the tragedy of Order 66. And here the clones at the end have the ability to choose for themselves. Some of them clearly are going to be staying on Pabu, while others are going to be going out in the galaxy, maybe settling elsewhere, maybe fighting the Empire. It's all going to vary based off of what they choose. And the batch, what they choose for the time being, to be safe and relax and recover on Pabu. Scene fades to black, but then we get a shot of Pabu overhead. Now, first, the way it was with the lighting and all that, I was like, uh-oh, did something happen? No, it was just a trick of the lighting, but I think they wanted that trick of the lighting. And then we see Omega making her way down to that cave at the bottom of Pabu that both the Clone X-Operative and Ventress used to hide. They need to get some perimeter sensors in there, but thankfully, this time, Hunter's there waiting for her. And should I say, this is a grown-up Omega. And she's off to fight with them, becoming a fight pilot for them. Sure, she's leaving her brothers behind, but they did their fight. She says it's now it's her turn to fight. And the thing is, it is such a sweet scene. She's getting ready to go, but she has one last conversation with Hunter, who says that he may be getting old, but he still has his senses, which of course, yeah, makes sense. And they have a conversation, but he leaves her with this line, which I think is a very brilliant line. He says, and he leaves the line that they, so himself along with Costa and Rekka, will be there if she needs them. That's leaving the opportunity open for them to come into future stories or not. It's an open-ended thing, but that's what I think they were trying to set up though, leaving the possibility open. But Omega takes off. Tech's glasses, or goggles I should say, are actually in the ship with her, and she goes off to join the rebellion. Now I want a scene of her at the rebel base. Rex sees her in distance like, is that Omega? Can't be. Goes up, it's Omega, we get here for a reunion. I would love to see that scene. Doesn't have to be animated or anything, but I would love to see it. But yeah, like the Rebels, we got a flash forward scene. Now I do think I like the Rebels flash forward scene a little better just because it feels like it tells us more about how these characters impacted the galaxy after them. But the thing is that they were set in a about 10 to 15 years after. So their flash forward scene is, taking place after the Galactic Civil War. That's when we're getting a recap. This scene is at the start of the Galactic Civil War proper. Omega's going off to join the rebellion. Her story is still continuing. We know that the Wrecker, Hunter, and Crosshair are safe on Pabu, ready should they ever be needed once again. But Omega's going out there in the galaxy. She's making her choice of what she wants to do to help everyone else. And so that connects nicely with that message Hunter gave before the flash forward. And she actually parrots those words back at him about that this is her choice that she is making. So yes, we haven't learned if they affected the galaxy at a grand scale, but we know they did because they destroyed Project Necromancer. Their actions entered. Now, Nausea was the only one who actually took action, deliberate action to end Project Necromancer, but if it wasn't for Omega and the Bad Batch, that would have never happened. And we know if Project Necromancer had succeeded, well, the Rise of Skywalker would have gone very differently. In fact, probably the entirety of the sequel trilogy would have gone very differently. And not good for the galaxy. So their actions had consequences. But the thing is, the story was never about how they were impacting the galaxy as a whole. It was always a story about the clones and them having their own choices. And they made their choices and they saved the galaxy by accident. But we don't need to know that because that's not what the story is about. It's about the story of the clones and them finally having the opportunity to make their own choice, which is shown at the end with Crosshair, Wrecker, and Hunter staying behind at Pabu while Omega goes to join the rebellion. But those are just my thoughts on The Cavalry Has Arrived. I do hope you enjoyed the episode because I certainly did. I would love to hear your thoughts on The Cavalry Has Arrived and the Bad Batch as a whole in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching my video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a like and share. Also, consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date on all my latest content. You can also stay up to date on my content by following me on social media. I have a link tree down in the description which has all my social media links on it. Additionally, if you would like to support the channel, you can become a channel member and get early access to all my videos. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you always.